Me and my boyfriend, Jacob, were camping together one summer. We were walking out to the spot where we planned to pitch the tent. We usually camped in public areas, with lots of other people around, but this was our third summer camping together, and I wanted to be a bit more adventurous. It was late, and the sun had already sunk below the horizon. There was supposed to be a dirt trail, but we must have taken the wrong turn, because the trail had become fainter and fainter before disappearing altogether. It left us standing confused in the dark, mosquito-filled air. Jacob was attempting to use his phone to consult the map of the area, but it wasn't loading. After a minute, he said we should probably just walk back in the direction we came until we found the trail again. We took a couple of steps before I heard Jacob scream, followed by a thud. I looked around, but I didn't see him. "Jacob?" I shouted. "Down here," came an echoing reply. I walked with caution towards the voice, and I almost fell into a deep hole. Most of it was covered up by twigs and branches. There was a gap where Jacob must have fallen through. "Are you okay?" I shouted. "Mostly," he shouted back up. "My shoulder and leg hurts, and I don't see a way back out of here. Actually, I don't see anything. It's really dark." I brushed away the clutter and examined the hole. The rim of the hole was made of brick, and I wondered if it was an old well or something. Although, the odd thing was, I couldn't see anything after a couple of inches. I kneeled and stuck my arm down the hole. I couldn't see my fingertips. It was too dark. I suddenly had this terrible feeling. I wanted to get Jacob out of that well as soon as possible. By chance, I had a strong rope in my backpack. I retrieved the rope from my bag and started tying knots, 1.5 feet apart. I had tied 5 knots when I heard Jacob's voice again. "Gray, are you nearly done?" His voice shook a little. "About 1/3 of the way there. Why?" "It's just dark, and I'm a little bit scared." "Don't worry, I'll get you out." I tried to sound confident and reassuring. I tied more knots. "Gray," he asked again, "can you hurry? I think there might be something down here with me." My heart started racing, and I quickened my knot tying pace. I was nearly at what I thought would be sufficient length. A scuffling sound came from the hole. "Gray, are you done yet? There's definitely something down here, and it's not good," Jacob yelled. I finished tying the last knot. My hands were shaking. "Yes, just hold on for 1 second," I shouted. I ran over to the nearest tree and tied the rope around it. Then I threw the knotted end down the hole. I leaned over the edge and squinted into the darkness. I couldn't see anything, but heard the sound of a struggle. "Does it reach?" I yelled. "Yes." The rope swayed and then went taut. I stood at the top of the hole and waited anxiously. I heard more scratching, and the end of the rope swayed. I heard a thud, and everything went silent for a moment. I had begun to fear the worst when I saw Jacob's face emerge from the darkness. I was so unbelievably relieved. Tears sparked from the corners of my eyes, and a grin split my face. Jacob stumbled a few feet away from the mouth of the hole. "Pull that rope up, now," he demanded. I began to withdraw the rope from the hole quickly, but it didn't take as long as I thought it should. I examined the end of the rope. It wasn't normal. Where there should have been a clean end, it was messy and frayed, as if it had been severed hastily. I turned back to Jacob. He was in shock. His face and hands were covered in dirt. Without warning, this thing in the hole lunged up and reached out, as if to pull me into the hole. I fell backwards, just barely avoiding its grasp. I didn't see it clearly, but I heard it shriek, and the impact of it hitting the ground. I could feel the air move when it emerged from the hole. I'm not proud of what I did next. I ran. I don't even know if it was chasing me. I heard it shriek again, but I just ran and ran. Jacob was following behind me, desperately trying to keep up, but due to his fall, he couldn't run very fast. We agreed to head back to the car, and eventually I found the trail again. I bolted down it, falling down a long embankment. I carried on moving towards the city lights. I didn't even look back to see if Jacob was still with me. Tears were streaming over my cheeks, into my mouth. I ran to the car. I'm sure I must have alarmed the other people in the area, but I was going too fast to talk to them. I reached my car and drove away. I later met up with Jacob. He made it to a friend's house, and I picked him up. None of us could explain what it was we saw. Jacob was too shaken by the encounter to talk about what he saw down in the well. Reflecting on this, I realised we were lucky to get out of there. If Jacob was knocked unconscious when he fell, I may have ended up falling down that hole with him. Or I may have been left alone out there with that thing out in the darkness. I don't know what I would have done if Jacob wasn't there. It's a chilling thought that keeps me awake at night.